Josh has been looking up some stuff because he just wanted to
I haven't
like
looked
get an
at
idea of
anything.
what it looked at. Oh,
I
right.
just
He's
saw
not
some
looked up
videos
anything.
on Steam.
On Steam.
Naughty Steve, naughty.
Welcome back to the My Mom Has Tourette's podcast. This week, one of our mothers was robbed at gunpoint with a sawn-off shotgun. And since that's not important enough, we will introduce ourselves once again. I am Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Andrew. So this week has been an interesting one, just with the fact alone that one of our mothers was robbed with a sawn-off shotgun. It's not bad enough that they were robbed, right? It's the point that they were robbed with such an impactful weapon, and they were pregnant with one of us. So one of us came out a little special, and it's really hard for you to tell which one it is. So I think we're pretty squared away on that. Don't look at him. Oh man. So this week we're gonna just kind of talk about what raids we've played. We've got a little bit of gaming news, a little bit of information on just some fun stuff, and as usual we'll end with like a quick little fantasy draft. But before we get into that, I guess we'll just ask how's everybody's week been. Let's switch it up. Josh, how's your week been? What's going on?
Not a whole lot. It was pretty good. Getting ready to leave to come home for a couple days.
Nice. Cool.
Nathan?
Oh, not bad. It's pretty good. Getting ready to leave and go home for a couple days.
How's the flood?
I'll be going home for about a week. Yeah, it's quite a down. You know, it's a little drier outside now, which is it's fun. You know, the water didn't decide to stick around. But yeah, I'm going to be visiting home in Pennsylvania for about a week, starting very soon. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. My week hasn't been too bad. Work has been a little bit busy, but that makes for a quick day to pass by. And I'll be home as I usually am. But the nice thing is, I guess that means sometime soon we might be having a little bit of a live get together, whether that means we do it on the podcast live or whether we just don't tell you about it. You know, we'll figure out what we want to do, but I'm sure you guys will know about it because, you know, we like to share just about everything that we can do on here.
Indeed.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I wish I had more to add. Like, my week just really hasn't been very eventful outside of work. I went to Red Robin. We were talking about burgers. I wanted to go get some Red Robin. It's about the highlight of it so far.
Dude, you guys made me so hungry last week with all that burger talk, man. Oh, that was rough.
That's why I went. And then of course, you know, we got to change it up. We can't talk about food every time or else we're going to always be going out to eat and getting fat.
Yeah, I'm working on
ham on some Taco Bell today.
Oh, my mind heard like ham and Taco Bell, and I was just thinking, since when have they served like a ham burrito?
I'm okay
with it. It's a new menu hack.
I'm okay
well,
with
speaking of, there's a quick bit of news. Taco Bell is coming back with my favorite menu items ever. They're bringing back the volcano menu. As of this week, if you have the app, you can order it, and I think it starts next week.
No.
But dude, it is so good. It's like a really spicy cheese sauce that they put on it. Oh my goodness, it is phenomenal.
I've been trying to not eat out.
Yeah, but Taco Bell is cheap. You can get like $7 worth of food for a small militia. It's pretty great.
It is
Your mom's cheap.
Wow,
that's just rude.
So the one that I saw that I thought at least was relevant to what we're doing right now. So
this week
apparently,
in gaming news.
Oh crap, that's trademarked. There we go. That's the official noise we're gonna use. So apparently, a player from Escape from Tarkov found his own dog tag. Now, what happened? Again, I'm not very familiar with this, so Josh is going to be able to elaborate much better than I can. But basically, the title goes, after being killed by a sniper, an Escape from Tarkov player managed to find his dog tag after traveling back to the place where he was shot. Apparently, this happened like well over a year after he got killed, like real time.
No.
So I don't know how that's possible. I'm trying to read through it again, but yeah, they're saying that, yeah, Oh, okay. Maybe I was a little mistaken. He had been trying for years to get his own dog tag, and apparently he was finally successful.
Okay.
Out here with the
Yeah,
fake news.
so I know that's what I'm good at, man. Fake news. But yeah, another person was they're basically saying it's a lot easier on like you can do some low population hack, but you can't do it in offline mode. But apparently you are able to get your own gear and tags at times. I've heard of people getting their gear, but never heard of anyone getting their dog tag. But I'm still pretty new to this, so
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible.
In the time that I've played, I've done it twice. How it works is, let's say you're playing as your PMC in the map and you get killed. When you die and you go back to the main menu, you scav back in to the same map. And it's very rare, but sometimes you can get lucky and scav into the same game that you were just playing as a PMC. Okay. And then that's when you can go find where you died, collect your stuff, get your dog tag, and get out.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
So that's the only way I've done it and know to do it. And it's very lucky that you'll scav in, because all the servers going, it's very lucky to just get in on the server that you just got out of.
Is it known how many servers are out there running?
I have no idea. I know that they didn't have a whole lot of them. And then when Twitch drops came a couple years ago, probably in 2020, they grew like overnight to 200,000 players almost, and they had to go get a bunch more servers.
Dang.
So I don't know what total they're running at right now.
Nice. All right. Number 2 in gaming news for this week. Let me get this actual article pulled up here. Final Fantasy 16 motion blur causing nausea for some players with no way to turn it off. Apparently, Final Fantasy 16 is out here. Full game. I don't know when it actually came out. It must be pretty new, though. And straight up, like, some users are actually getting, like, nauseated playing the game because of the motion blur, and they didn't give an option to turn it off, which, like, most games I've ever played that have motion blur give you an option to turn it off. At least,
that's what I was thinking.
That's kind of insane. So, yeah, I guess...
For some people out there that are like, there's no way a video game can give you motion blur sickness. When I started driving for a company called Schneider National, they tested you in this room and they had a video game simulator where it was an actual seat, a steering wheel, the dash of a semi, and then an actual stick shifter. And then the computer screen, they had one screen here, and then one screen on each side of you. So you're surrounded by 3 screens total. And these 2 were like your driver side window, and this one was your passenger, and the front one was your, like, you're looking out of the truck. And it had foot pedals, and you could drive and shift like you were in a real truck, but it was all done on these computer screens. And I know in the class that I was in, a lot of people were getting motion sickness from that, like all the screens and just a lot of people were getting sick from that. So I don't doubt people are getting motion blur sickness from a video game.
Yeah, no doubt. Especially.
Sorry,
go ahead, Nathan.
No,
My apologies.
You continue.
Well, I was going to say I don't doubt that the people are definitely getting some sort of motion sickness from video games. This is the Final Fantasy series we're talking about. You know, this is all about like bright lights, great visuals. You know, usually some sort of fast-paced action, and you know, I was going to bring up Final Fantasy 16 as well because there's been more news about it. Just, you know, it's a Final Fantasy game. If you're into story-based games like I am, you probably want to know about it. But yeah, I mean, it's under a lot of scrutiny. It just released like maybe a couple days ago. Like I want to say maybe, actually, it might have been last weekend that it revealed, but it was recently. It was like within a week for sure. But yeah, they've been running in a couple issues with that. If you weren't sure of it,
that is unfortunate to hear.
Indeed.
So before we move on to our final bit of gaming news here, I just want to read a wonderful quote in the article about the motion blur. in Final Fantasy 16. This is written by Han Shot First 1569 on Reddit. Let me preface this by saying that I was incredibly excited for the game, loved the demo, and am enjoying the main game so far. Han Shot First 1569 said on Reddit. But, wow, Final Fantasy 16 has the most offensively atrocious motion blur I have ever seen in a video game. It gave me motion sickness intense enough to force me into the bathroom in case I threw up. I can't believe they released it like this and didn't include the fix in the day one patch. That's rough.
Which begs the question, have they sent a patch out to fix this yet? I don't know how long ago this news was discovered, but
I don't know.
Well, at the top of the article, it'll tell you when the article was
2 days
written.
ago. 2 days ago. So
Yeah,
maybe it was fixed by then, and kudos to them. If not, screw you guys.
yeah, I know the news that I heard about Final Fantasy 16. I just heard about it earlier today when it was released. A lot of people are really upset with the game, probably in half because of the motion blur, but they're mad that it's turning in, like, the series itself is now shifted into like an action adventure RPG, whereas most of, I'd say like probably 90% of the Final Fantasy games were always turn-based. Now, to keep in mind, Final Fantasy has been around since Nintendo days, original Nintendo.
Very
so,
old.
You certainly turn-based combat was created for a system with limited capabilities like the Nintendo and, PlayStation and on through over. However, people don't realize, I don't think people realize how spoiled they've become. And, because half of that is going to be the audience that plays the game who've played it throughout the years, that love the turn-based style, and it is a fun system even today. I will say I enjoy turn-based games. However, you guys can look in the links article that I sent a picture to. We're talking about games that went from the main character having paintbrush arms because of freaking limited graphics capabilities to full-on 26 to 40 hour movie sets worth of digital animation. Yeah. And I think people still want the nostalgia, because when you hear a game that you've played when you were younger, and I mean, gaming has definitely grown. I would argue within the 80s and 90s, especially the 90s, I think it started to take off. But gaming has kind of been growing along with that generation of like millennial and Gen Z. The games have been growing at that speed. So people want everything and deserve to be delivered on it, or they feel they deserve to be delivered on it. So it's difficult for a lot of people to accept that this game is now evolving with the times rather than opposed to like just what it's been since you were a kid. And I think that's my opinion on it. That's just my take. A lot of people are irritated with that, but I've played a couple. Yeah, what's your question, buddy?
Your statement is that a lot of people don't like it because they went from turn-based game to action.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if the game would have stayed turn-based, the same people would be complaining that the new game hasn't changed in any way than the other ones?
100%. And here's your reasoning. Final Fantasy VII was remade, right?
Yeah.
That was huge news when it was remade, like 2 years ago, I think it was. It was the Final Fantasy game that everybody says is one of the greatest games of all times. That is the picture I sent you with the main character having arms that look like paintbrushes, because it was on PS1 and it was literally there for the story. It's an awesome game. You have everything from like huge boss battles. Sephiroth, I'm sure you've heard of him. That's the main antagonist, is from that game, Final Fantasy VII. And when they remade it, people were clamoring for a remake so bad that some of them did overlook the fact that it plays very similar to how it looks like Final Fantasy 16 plays. It's not a turn-based game. It is an action RPG. And people loved it, and they didn't complain about it because they just got it had been like 25 years. People have been like, we want this game remade. We need a new version. At this point, we don't care because we just want a new one. And before that, they had Final Fantasy 15, which was it was like a bromance. I would definitely say that game is a bromance game. It's one of the few games that like you'll go out, you'll start fighting some animals or something, some beasts, and then you're just walking along, and one of your companions that was with you fighting it alongside you, they'll be like, dude, that was sick, and they'll give you a fist bump. The first time someone just fist bumped me and like it wasn't prompted, it was the coolest thing. And there's a bunch of other mechanics to it. But you have 15, which is the game that came out before this one. You have 14, which was an MMO. Obviously not going to be turn-based combat as an MMO. So the last turn-based combat Final Fantasy that we would have had, at least canonically, would have been 13. And the 13, they had like 213 kind of spin-off games, which everybody universally hated. They hated Final Fantasy 13. It was the first one that I'd ever played, and I thought it was a pretty good game. And in my opinion, just suffered from like Final Fantasy syndrome is what we'll call it. You ever have a game series or a movie series come out that was just super hyped up, and then it just didn't live up to expectations, only to realize later that you were like, you know what, maybe this wasn't that bad of a game or a movie or a show or whatever. I just gave it high praise because I wanted it to be what the predecessor was. And so in theory, yes, those people would definitely complain because the last turn-based Final Fantasy that they had was 5 iterations ago, because they made a couple spin-off games. So at this point, if you haven't gotten on the bandwagon, you're not going to. So those same people are definitely going to complain, because that's, aside from having, I don't know, carpal tunnel, that's probably the same thing that most gamers share anymore, is their need to feel like they need to complain about everything if it's a mainstream game.
So they're just complaining to complain. There's no real...
I think so.
Okay,
because
that makes sense.
the claim is just, oh, well, let's see, when did Final Fantasy 13 come out? 10 years ago or so? Now you're going to complain since the combat's changed from 10 years ago? You're just trying to be cool. You're a hipster. You just want to be like, I don't like this. Check out my skinny jeans, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Completely, and I'll stop rambling after this, but completely different news. I don't know if you've seen. I'm going to call it gaming news, but apparently Coca-Cola teamed up with League of Legends and made a Coke flavor. It's a Coke Zero flavor. I don't know what it's supposed to taste like. I've seen it in Walmart.
Garbage.
It's called Coke Zero Ultimate. That's all I know. It's a Coke
I don't
Zero.
like Coke Zero.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't really drink pop/soda regardless, so it's kind of like...
Nathan, hit me with that third article.
In our third little bit of gaming news here with the My Mom Has Tourette's podcast, Minecraft doesn't have a PS5 version because Sony didn't send Microsoft dev kits. So apparently, while Sony was out sending out like the development kits, basically like to other developers, they just didn't send them to Microsoft. The article
Microsoft
doesn't explain
Minecraft.
Why. Microsoft owns Minecraft via Mojang.
Oh, okay.
As of like probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, like a while now.
So let's put on our thinking caps then.
So
did Sony actually forget?
That's why I thought that this would be a good article, because it's Minecraft and it has to go with what we were talking about last week with the whole Xbox and Sony battle that's going on right now.
Yeah, but it does
100% on that bandwagon.
It does state Sony was reluctant to send them development kits for the PlayStation 5. What's really funny in the end is it doesn't matter that much for gamers on the PlayStation 5 because they can still play Minecraft via the PlayStation 4 version. They just don't have a native Minecraft version for PlayStation 5. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This is really goofy. So basically, Sony sucks.
This is 1000% exactly what I tried to point out last week with I want your ball. You have a cool ball. I want to play with it. Yeah. No, I'm not going to give it to you. Oh my goodness. It's schoolyard antics at its finest with developers, and oh my gosh, it's too funny to me.
It's a good time.
Too funny.
Always a good time. Yeah, I don't have too much more to add to that. I just think it's pretty funny.
Well, I think it's fitting. I think it's fitting. You know, me and Nathan grew up. I grew up originally a PlayStation person. I was always at my friends playing the PlayStation 1, and I never had a system to myself. And then when I got older, it was like 5th grade, I got my own system, and it was Xbox 360. No, it was the original Xbox. And then I just stayed with the Xbox series. So, you know, me and Nathan have always been in the Xbox series, and Andrew's been PlayStation.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are listening to the podcast who don't understand, they say console games. So you have consoles and then you have the computer, PC. Consoles are Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, like the Wii, the Switch. They all control the different games. So like PlayStation has different games that Xbox people cannot play. And Xbox has games that PlayStation people cannot play. So between last week's news and this week's news, that's what we're talking about, is that each of these consoles have different games that people can't play, and so they're playing that whole ball in the court thing with each other where, well, I'm going to try to take this game away from you so the people that own your system can't play that game, and the people that have our system can play that game. And it's just this massive billion-dollar battle going on between these people.
I'm waiting for the day that Sony becomes petty and childish, and they're like, "Oh, fine, you want to take Bethesda? We're going to buy Bungie, and now Halo is a PlayStation exclusive." Because that'd be hilarious.
I puts on Reddit hat. Actually, Bungie hasn't owned Halo since Halo Reach.
Well, there you go. I'm not an Xbox guy because I'm I'm of higher order, and I've had a PlayStation for a while now.
Dang, higher order. All right, let's definitely spend the podcast arguing about that.
If Bungie doesn't have Halo anymore, who does?
So after Halo Reach came out, I don't know what exactly happened. I think Bungie or the heads of Bungie wanted to move on to something else. So essentially, they didn't want to just give Halo to another developer. There were enough people left on Bungie who loved the series, loved the title, who wanted to keep working on it. They ended up creating their own industry. It's called 343 Industries. 343 Industries now owns Halo ever since Halo 4. They made Halo 4, Halo 5, Halo Master Chief Collection, and Halo 6. And they've upkept them since, Halo 6 being Halo Infinite. So Bungie did a little spin-off after Halo, made Destiny and Destiny 2. Little game, you probably haven't heard of them. And yeah, they're actually fantastic, by the way. I've not played a ton of Destiny 2, but I played the original Destiny, and they're so much fun to play. I really enjoy them personally. But Halo, yeah, is under 343 Industries, which is like half ex-Bungie employees and then like half other people that they brought on when they made the company.
Okay.
Booga booga.
I actually didn't know that. I was curious about that. So, I got to play with Nathan today on a few raids. And I didn't play with Andrew, but I know Andrew played today. So, Andrew, how about you tell us how your raids went today?
I'm glad we're starting with me because they both didn't last. I played 2 raids and they didn't last too long. So we'll start with my second raid because that was amazing. So I decided to go out as a PMC. I went to, I think it was Shoreline, the map with the giant lighthouse, and I was looking around. I finally found my bearings. I had about probably 20 minutes left, and I was just like, you know what? Let me go over this scav boss. Right, I'm gonna have a good time. I don't care if I lose my gear because I just want to get some killing in. So I'm starting to go down there. No scav boss. Apparently they don't always spawn in, so that was a good time. And I was like, cool. There's not even any scavs around here, and then there's supposed to be a scav and scav boss, and it didn't seem like any of them even spawned. I was like, wow, pretty sure I'm not playing offline mode. And then I heard some people shooting. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not playing offline mode, so let me just go to my extract point and try to loot on the way there. So nothing special. I didn't do anything crazy. I was just running down the shoreline, just kind of running, walking, not really doing much. And the moment that I have to go into the grass instead of the shoreline, because there's like a little bit of I can't cross just water in that game, so I gotta get up on the grass part of the shoreline. I was talking to Josh about how what we were talking about on the podcast today, and he said something. I muted myself, and the moment that I started walking again, I heard one suppressed shot, and I was dead. And it was a sniper from pretty far away, one shot headshot, barely heard it, and that was the end of it. So I was like, I'm glad I didn't go in with anything I really needed or wanted, because I was just gonna go in and see how hard it was to kill a scav boss was my goal, and I didn't get to figure that out. But the moment I tried to extract, you better believe that I'm gonna assume somebody was camping close to it, because I heard one little tink, and that was the end of my life. That was the end of my whole experience there.
Tink.
It was a good time. My first one, I went in as a scav. And when I go in as a scav, I just want to cause a ruckus. So I spawned in at some log cabins near the edge of I think it was the southern edge of the map, I believe. And so I looked around. There was nobody to loot, nothing to loot. I found one dead scav somewhere next to a porta-john. So he probably wasn't having a good time when he died either. He had one of those funny masks, and I was like, let me loot this bad boy. I think it was called like Charlie or something, but one of those big crazy masks. So I was like, let me put this John on. Just ran off. Didn't really run into anybody. Heard some shooting. I tried to find them, and I didn't find them. So I have about 5 minutes to extract at this point. It's like, yeah, let me see where I'm at. And I'm like, okay, I'm not too far from one. I can definitely make it. Just start running. And, this wonderful game that has a lot of robust features, things in their games to help you out a lot that you don't need third-party apps for. Things like maps and details that maybe even a sign in English to let me know what's going on. But
in
no,
Russia.
I stumbled into a minefield and blew off my leg, died, and had a concussion apparently. So that's how that went. I was like, wow, did somebody just like shoot me with a shotgun? Did they creep up behind me? And I saw how I died. There was no player, but it said my leg had been amputated, or my leg had been removed or whatever, and I had suffered a concussion. So I just found, and I realized, yeah, that loud explosion was definitely a mine that was just buried in the ground. So that was fun.
Dude, mine suck.
Yes.
Nathan, you want to tell how ours went?
Sure. So I call up Josh. I'm like, yo, let's play a little bit of Tarkov before I go and start working. So we did. And it went well. Josh, how about yours?
Oh, it went good.
Good. All right, next. So basically, we started off, we went in as a scav, and we spawned in nothing super crazy. It's kind of like some decently expensive body armor that, had I made it out, I could have sold it for.
Nathan went in, and Nathan spawned in with Dr. Disrespect's armor. They put they have streamer items in the game, and he plays this game once in a while. And so he had that, he always wears the same outfit when he streams, and it's that red thing. So he spawned in with it on his character. And then we go to loot a stash, and I'm like, Nathan, pick this up. And there was another one of his armors.
Yeah, that ended up being a pretty uneventful run.
We just looted.
Did we fight anybody? I think we just looted, and then we actually went to...
Yeah, we just looted and left.
Yeah, we went to admin basement, which is kind of like in the basement of an admin building. And basically, you just stand there, and I guess somehow a creature pulls you through the wall and extracts you. I don't really get how that's an extract, but I'm just going with it. Because you just kind of stand in the basement, and it says, okay, wait here 7 seconds, and then you'll escape from Tarkov. So cool.
I don't know how that works. I mean, because the gym basement where it's locked off. You just go downstairs in the bottom of the gym on the east wing for the scav, and that's an extract as well. But maybe it's just a little tunnel down there.
Underground railroad vibe.
Yeah, there's some mole people down there. Yeah, okay. This is making a little bit more sense now. All right, I retract my transgression. That's not the word.
This is Russia we're talking about, so they are definitely keeping slaves over there.
This is Russia. You are not wrong. That is definitely what they are doing. Our second raid we went in as PMCs. That's it.
Got this, yeah.
Thank you. And we put on the good old normal armor. And just started it up. Josh still has to help me with what I need to spawn in with, because otherwise I'll forget stuff. And we went in as snipers again. And so we pretty much spawned in. He always spawns in earlier than me because I guess he has a supercomputer from NASA. So pretty much he's like already running up the hill, and then I finally spawned in. No, that was with the scav. This actually spawned us both in at the same time.
PMCs, we come in at the same time.
At the scav, he was in like 2 minutes before me. Okay, so we both spawned in at the same time. He has to wait for my dingy old, dirty old, disgusting, crappy little piece of computer. And so we started. Where did we spawn in? Remind me.
We spawned in that field, and I said, we're going to run because people are going to spawn on the other side of the water. So we just booked it, and I was like, go hide in a bush.
He said, we're going to learn the art of hiding in a bush. So we actually spent probably a good 20 straight minutes crouched in a bush, just staring, like to the east or to the north. I lose all sense of direction.
It was to the west.
Let's see. I don't know what I'm talking about. And we just watched. And at one point, he's like, okay, these guys, because there were some sniper scavs, like, over some ridge down below. There's some big old rock that apparently some sniper scavs spawn on, like 2 of them. And if they see you, they'll, snipe at you. So Josh is like, all right, we're going to chill in these bushes and wait for someone to fight them or wait for them to shoot at somebody, because then they'll give away player locations. So we're like, okay, we're going to sit there for a long time. We end up realizing, or Josh ends up realizing at one point, like, the sniper scavs are dead. Like, they're actually just, like, not there anymore.
I didn't think they spawned in. And then I noticed, I was like, there's a dead body on the rock. Someone's already killed it. And then we heard the shot. So we pushed. Nope. I was like, well, let's wait here.
Yeah, we waited.
We're going to see. Yeah, that's why we waited so long, because I heard the shot, and I'm like, we're going to wait to see if somebody comes our way. Exactly. And so we waited, and we're waiting. I'm like, Nathan, I don't have patience to sit here anymore. So let's bait them. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, well, are you okay with baiting him? And he's like, yeah, whatever you want to do. So I was like, look all the way to your left. And so he's like scoping in. I'm like, Nathan, I don't need you to scope in at anything. Just shoot your gun. Every time I say fire, just shoot the gun. So I'm like, shoot. And he's like, pew. I'm like, okay, wait. All right, shoot again. So he shoots. And then I'm like, wait, shoot again.
3 shots.
And so I'm like, all right, reload. Get your gun back for full ammo.
And then
I'm like, we're leaving.
Nothing really happened, and we just sat there for another couple minutes, not even really that long. I reloaded. We're like, okay, well, they haven't done anything. They haven't moved. We haven't seen anybody on the other side. We don't know who killed the sniper scavs. But after I shot, like a minute or 2 after I shot, we start hearing some explosions and shots off to the left in the area where I shot. So it just didn't, like, we didn't really know. Josh might have a better idea, but I didn't know where they were coming from. But we just kind of ran across the creek, and we never found the guys who killed the sniper scavs. That was just not even.
So we went across the creek, and I looked, and we couldn't find anybody over there. So there's this big, massive rock that you have to jump up several times to get to the top. Yeah. And so we're jumping up there, and Ethan goes, man, this is really loud. I'm like, yeah, jumping makes a lot of noise.
On the rock.
So we get on top of the rock, and we lay down. I'm like, well, you look that way, because if players have spawn, we can watch them. And then I'll look this way to see if there's players coming down from the resort. So we waited some time, and I'm like, all right. Nothing happened. No one spawned, no scavs, nobody. I said, let's just get up. Let's go see if we can kill some scavs, and then we'll get out.
It's real funny to me, though, because it's just 2 dudes completely out in the open on this huge rock, laying completely prone, just holding down their sniper spots. It was a pretty good time. We were there.
But if you don't
thankful
look
nobody
there-
saw us jump up there. Yeah.
If you don't look there, people don't know you're there. Because
Yeah.
there was one time Nathan walked by me, and I was literally standing next to a rock wall, just standing there. And he's like, I don't see you, dude. I don't see you. And I'm like, turn around. And he turned around, and you just see me like in this dark shadow against the rock. I'm like, hi.
To be fair, I didn't see you at first because you were on my left and you said look to the right.
Yeah.
Let me interject with this. So let's see if Nathan agrees with what I'm about to say, because I know Josh won't.
Bring it.
Have you guys heard of the saying, "Those who can't do teach"?
Yes.
Have you heard that before? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the opposite is true, because it seems like when I play with Josh on Tarkov, and I'm gonna go out on a stretch and say it's because this is Josh's baby. He's been fostering this game for 7 years. He knows the ins and outs, absolutely loves it. But it seems like until the last time I played with Josh and when I played by myself, it seems like every time like there's a crunched leaf, Josh's instant reaction is to say, there's a bush over there, go hide in it, lay down. I'm going to make sure that the threat is nullified. You do nothing. I'm teaching you how to play this game by you doing nothing, and I want you to live. And I'm just like, this isn't a fun way to play Tarkov. And so the last time Josh and I played, he's like, I don't want you to be bored, so we can like do what you want. And you seem to like PvP. I'm like, dog, yes. Like, let me go in and die if I have to. I don't mind stealth, but I want stealth with entertainment. That's why I like the Hitman series. I don't want stealth to the point where I'm avoiding everything. And it's just like, well, whenever something did happen when I was playing with Josh, it's on the fly, super fast. You got to learn this second, or else you're gonna die.
Just wait.
Because you know, when we got into our first raid where I got shot, which let me just add that too. I seem to attract friendly fire in that game because again, there was one of your teammates who lit me up on my second raid when I first spawned in.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Yiffy. I think it was True. Yeah. So yeah. So I just got lit up, and then they're like, all right, we'll lay down in this bush because now you got to learn how to use medical kits and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is a good time. But yeah.
Well, that's the whole reason we told you to sit in the bush was because you were healing, and then those dudes pushed in behind us. So we're like, just stay there. Yeah. We're all dead.
I'm not saying anything about that. I'm not saying that was the wrong decision. I'm just saying that it just, whenever we were playing together, it was a lot of like, you were like, you wanted so badly. It almost seemed like you wanted so badly for it to be online or offline mode, but you still wanted the online mode because you wanted to have that sense of like, I am a father. This is my cub. Let me take care of my cub. Kind of like
it's
behavior.
Hard to teach because like you got to teach somebody the game while also keeping them alive to teach them the game. And there's so much to teach that it's hard to teach it and fight. So, I mean, it's all coming at one time.
I just learned today that guns can randomly jam.
Listen, this gets so good.
We should finish our raid. We should finish our talk about our raid because this is what happened next.
So
after we got off that huge rock, we were laying prone.
We climbed to the top and waited there. He watched this way, I watched this way. And we sat there a couple minutes. I'm like, all right, I know there's a scav spawn on the other side of this cliff, this little valley. Let's just go look at it, see if there's anything, take some shots at it, and then we'll leave. He's like, all right, I'm down. So the whole reason we're really moving kind of is because Nathan's like, this is my last raid. After this, I gotta go to work. So I'm kept like, Nathan, do you have time? Like, what do you want to do? And he's like, no, we're good. So we start walking, we get down the rock, we walk through this little bit of a field, we come up this hill, and I peek over and there's no scavs. I'm like, oh, there's nothing. And then I'm like, well, we can wait here a second. And then all of a sudden I see something. And I see something coming zigzagging through the woods. And so I scope in and it's a player. It's a decently armored PMC running through the woods. And I'm just watching him, and I don't think I said anything to Nathan, and then I waited, and he got closer, and I was like, I don't want to take a shot yet. And all of a sudden I was like, Nathan, there's a dude. He's about to come right in front of you. So I'm watching him, and all of a sudden Nathan just randomly fires at the dude. Just takes a shot. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Well, this time the dude is literally like 15 feet in front of Nathan and 20 feet in front of me.
I'm saying he's only that far away from me. There's a bush right in front of me, big old bush right in front of me, slightly to the right. This whole time, that bush was between he and I. He's running directly our direction to the left side of the bush from my perspective. He starts running past it. I'm hearing him. I'm like, this dude is coming right for me. This guy is running right for me. I start scoping in because I'm like, I'm about to have to shoot this guy. I'm about to have to take a life. Nathan has a bolt
action rifle.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like not that far away, so it's like if I miss this, it's bad. Because I didn't bring a pistol because I was stupid. Josh didn't remind me to either way, so actually he's stupid.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. It's my fault.
So I'm hearing this dum 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 of the guy sprinting, and he finally emerges past the bush. He's full on sprinting. He doesn't know we're there at that point. I'm like, okay, he's literally sprinting exactly at me and doesn't know I'm there, so I took a shot. And apparently I hit him. I found out after I hit him. I thought I missed.
I'm watching him, and I'm just like waiting for the correct opportunity. And then all of a sudden Nathan shoots. I'm like, oh crap, it's game on. Like there's no waiting for the shot. We got to get engaged. And all of a sudden the dude just goes and sprays. And then I'm like, oh crap, Nathan. And I'm like, I had to stop thinking about Nathan. I changed my view on my scope. I see the guy walking away real slowly. So I was like, oh, Nathan at least got him because he's like limping away. And so I just turned and I was like, boom, 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 dropped him. And I'm like, Nathan, you alive? He goes, yeah, I'm still good. I'm like, well, I just killed the dude. He's like, you killed him? I'm like, yeah. I said, did you get shot? And he goes, no, I didn't get shot. He's like, I said, he just sprayed. He didn't even kill you. There's blood on the rock.
Exactly.
There's bullet holes and blood on the rock. And I'm like, you didn't get hit?
I didn't have a single bit of damage to my armor or my health. He didn't hit me.
So wow. I go to loot the body. I took what I wanted. I gave Nathan some things. I get up and I'm checking the guy's gun. So when I kill somebody and I take their gun, I check to see what rate of fire it's on. So if I go to use it, like I know how many bullets are going to come out when I pull the trigger and how much ammo he has in his mag. Well, I look at the top of my screen and it shows the gun red. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then boom, it clicks. I'm like, oh, that guy's gun jammed. That's why he didn't kill Nathan. He got like 13 bullets out of the gun and it jammed. And so he tried to run away, but Nathan injured him. So he limped away. So I re-racked the bolt on the gun and I fixed it. And I'm like, Nathan, we just killed him because you limped him. And then he jammed his gun trying to get away from us.
That's so amazing. Funny that guns can jam in that game. They're like, it's just real life war simulator.
Yeah. Did I tell you before or after about the guns? I thought I told you before. I was like, oh, by the way.
Yeah. Which is really funny because we saw
I had this whole explanation with how guns jam, what they do and stuff, and how it can cause problems, the different percentage rates for like when a gun can jam, and then boom, the first fight we get into, the guy's gun jams.
Yeah, and exactly. And then what happened after is we found a scav and his gun peanut buttered. Can you believe it?
There was two of us. There was two of them. And he messed me up. He blacked my leg out.
Okay, Nathan, back up. I was joking. That's technically the next point in the story. Bullet point. Hey. So basically, after that whole fiasco, we loot. Josh is laying on the ground looking like a dead boy, just looting this guy. We get our stuff. We get moving. We start running down the hill. We're like, okay, we're going to extract. One, I kind of got to go. Two, we have like some loot and stuff. We got to kill. We're just trying to get out of here now. So what was our extract then? That was...
Pat the Lighthouse. It was like 100 yards away from us.
Yeah, we were really close to there. So we started running that way. And then you can finish it, Josh.
So we're walking through the woods and there's a scav spawn. And I don't know if I heard them. I think I heard them. And I'm like, oh, Nathan, they're scavs. And I shot one, but I couldn't see the other one. And he shot me, and he blacked out my leg. So I threw a grenade that I got off the dude I killed. And I'm like, oh, I think I got him. So I'm trying to fix my leg, and he shoots me again. And I'm like, oh, he's not dead. Well, here, Nathan goes, oh,
I
I'm
couldn't see
exhausted.
anybody. Yeah,
I'm
that
out of
too.
food. And he
I was
goes,
like on
oh,
my
I
way
must
of
have gotten
dying.
hit. I'm almost dead. I'm bleeding. All my body is like his little person's turning red because he's almost dead. I'm like, Nathan, you need to start bandaging and just leave. Well, he turns around and goes, oh, I see this guy. Boom, shoots him and drops him. So I'm like, Nathan, you got to run. We don't have food to give you. You just got to run and try to get out of here. So Nathan ran off without me, got to the extract while healing.
Whole
like,
time I'm
heals.
shoving cheese in this face.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm out of heals. I'm out of cheese. I'm like, you're just going to have to hope you get there in time. And he's like, are you going to be okay? And I'm like, oh, don't worry about me. So he extracted.
I look at your screen over here on Discord, and you're just sprinting behind me. I'm like, oh, Josh is good. He got it all figured out.
So he got out, and then I got out, and that was our 2 raids.
Successful.
So
successful.
It was
a scav and a PMC kill. Pretty good.
There you go. Nice.
It was fun. Then I had some pretty good raids after you got off with Yiffy tonight. Found some bloodhounds, headshot them.
Very nice. I don't know that guy, but he sounds like he's part of the
they're terrifying.
The furry community. Andrew.
Oh, Yiffy.
I feel like you just needed more experience in that game of like getting to shoot people and actually getting to get in conflicts. It seems like that's all you really want to do.
I want entertainment value from it. I already don't understand. Well, can't say I don't understand. I already don't enjoy the gameplay loop, and I've said it before. Yeah. It doesn't seem like there's enough reward for me to want to keep coming back. But if I'm gonna go in there, especially as a scav, like I feel like when I play as a scav, since I'm still new, the goal is basically just to have fun for me. I want to have fun. I want to extract, but like if I'm gonna die and I'm not gonna lose anything and I'm playing online to get like that real life experience, yeah, throw me in as a scav. Let me go find a scav boss or some PMCs, light them up as best I can, and leave. Because if I lose, I lose. I don't lose anything. But yeah, I mean, like I said, if I go in there, I just want to play and have fun. You know, if we're all gonna play as a group a couple more times or however long you guys want to, you know, it's just understand that if you want someone to be bait or if you want somebody to go test something, I'm your guy because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to engage and lose my life potentially. But yeah, that's where it's at for me. I don't mind playing it; it's enjoyable somewhat, but it still doesn't get the thumbs up for me because it's not a game I would just play by myself.
That is a nice little segue into Josh. We
insert thumbs down graphic.
Thumbs. These guys, graphic. So it seems like. Okay, we started this podcast with the intent to share fun, interesting games with each other and find new games that are interesting and things maybe get us a little bit out of our comfort zone playing things that maybe we wouldn't have decided to start otherwise and give things real shots. And I think we need to decide as a group, but I feel like it's pretty much already decided that we're going to be moving on from Tarkov as the subject of the podcast, because this is our 4th week with podcasting, our 4th week with Tarkov. So yes, Josh.
If you're joining in now, if you haven't listened to the episode 0, what our vision for this is, first of all, we're right now what we're doing is we're playing games that we've all played before and that we've enjoyed. And once we get a feeling with this, then we're going to sit down and we're going to find games that we haven't played.
Like none of us.
We're going to have real reviews off of those games from people that have never played the game. But our rule is after 4 weeks of playing a game, minimum 2 hours a week, if there's at least one person that does not like the game or enjoy it enough to like keep going with it, then we're going to be switching to the next game. So right now, this is our 4-week period. We have at least one person that does not enjoy the game fully. And so we're going to be transitioning to our next game. But before we tell you what the other game we're going to be switching to is, We're going to go down and we're going to give the breakdown of how we feel about this game. We have a couple different categories we're going to break it down to, and then we're going to give you our overall feeling. So, Andrew, starting with you, your graphics. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think of the graphics of Escape from Tarkov?
So I think Escape from Tarkov did a good job at making some business decisions with that. I think the game does look really nice. It's not extremely high textured, or at least not yet. But they're trying to go for a decision with graphics in the point of they do want people to continue playing this game over and over again. And to be completely honest, in my opinion, I think graphics are important to a game, but it's just as important as an aesthetic choice. And they did, I will say, Tarkov did really good at kind of doing both. I think they really nailed the aesthetic choice of having this kind of, I guess it would fall under hyper realism of what's going on around you. You know, you can hear, I know it's not technically graphics, but you can kind of hear when someone steps near you, or you can see the ripples of the ocean, but I can't see the blades of grass swinging in the breeze every time I'm taking a step. You know, they made a good choice. I would say overall, I'd give it about an 8 in graphics. They do look really well. And I think they focused enough on it, but they didn't focus too much on it so that it took away from what their gameplay is trying to be. So I give it an 8.
Okay, Nathan, how do you feel about the graphics?
I'm pretty solidly in the same camp as Andrew. I actually give the graphics an 8 as well. This is pre-written. We didn't talk about our actual scores beforehand, but I agree. Overall, I really like the general, because we kind of talked about this. Graphics is kind of like not just how good the graphics are, but how well they work in their universe and like the overall aesthetics of them. And I think it's a very nice aesthetic overall for the game. It is very realistic without being like super ridiculously high quality, because everyone needs to load in these maps simultaneously and crap like that. So they had to like make some decisions there where like they made some realism with, say, interacting with the world around you a little bit lower than, say, if you were playing a AAA single-player game, that sort of thing. So it's just kind of like how these kind of online multiplayer mass MMO type games, it's not an MMO, work with graphics. So yeah, I'd say overall graphics is an 8. I really enjoy the overall aesthetic in the world of Tarkov, what I've played so far.
So I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well.
Wow.
I wrote it down before Andrew even gave his. I love this game. It's my favorite game. I want to be like, this game's a 10 out of 10. Best game ever. But the more you think about it, there's some things. So like the graphics are really good. How amazing the bushes are to where you can hide on them, and it's not like at a certain distance they don't render, so you can just see someone standing in the open. The way the wind blows the grass, the scenery, the mountains, the buildings, it's all really good. But Andrew brought up a couple of weeks ago, like there's piles of metal that are like just copy and pasted on the map where they should blend into the ground, but they're just like there. And there's little bits like I can think of, like on Shoreline up on the tunnel, there's these bits of metal that stick out, and it's just like, it's not neat. Mm-hmm. So I think the overall graphics of the game are good. There's just little bits here and there that kind of mess things up. So Andrew, what is your rating on a scale of 1 to 10 on gameplay?
So for gameplay, I'm kind of thinking a combination of technical gameplay, how well does it work, and just, you know, is it fun? So this is, for me at least, this portion is always going to be a little more opinionated, I think. Technically speaking, I would have to argue that the game is a little bit too technical. I don't think there's too much of a reason for me to be able to crouch at a certain point and adjust exactly how much I crouch by every 4 inches. There's a lot of stuff like that to me. Like I can peek around a corner, or I can like slowly peek around a corner. It's just too much for me. As for the actual goal that they're going for with gameplay, I do think I think they did a pretty decent job of it. It's just not my cup of tea. I still don't what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not a fan of just the loop that it has. I don't see a reason to keep coming back personally. So for gameplay, I did give it just an average 5 out of 10 for me personally.
Nathan?
So I think the gameplay of Tarkov, for somebody who wants to get really into it and immersed in this world, in this shooter, I think it's really good. I believe the overall complexity, like this is the most realistic shooter I've played. To be fair, I've not played a crazy amount of shooters, but they do go their extra mile to make sure this is as realistic as possible. Like reloading a gun, you unload the magazine, put it in your inventory, you drag bullets into it, and then it puts them in one by one, and then you have to bring the magazine back into the gun. You can like fold the guns to give more space in your inventory, and like any of the guns that can be folded, that sort of thing. There's, like he said, you can control like the minute little tiny bits of like speed of how quickly you do things. Like when you're walking, like normal speed, there's sprinting, there's walking, there's crouch walking, there's prone walking, and then the mouse wheel can change the overall speed that you're doing each of those things, as well as how, like, exactly proportionally how much noise you make doing those things. I think, sure, that's cool, but I think the game is overall more complex than I'm interested in. Like, I feel like it's so complex that it would take so long to learn and remember everything you can do in that game. And maybe if I was planning on spending a long time playing the game like Josh has, maybe that would be more of a boon, but I believe it's more of a negative overall, in my opinion, of playing the game. So I gave it a higher score than I initially would have thought, but I did give gameplay a 7 because I think the overall gameplay is really good. I think it's very well made, and they did a great job making a realistic shooter where I could turn around, and if I don't remember what my friend looks like and what he's wearing, I could shoot him thinking he's an enemy. Like, the gameplay, like what they've gone for, was solid. It's just not completely for me. So I feel like I've taken a little bit more of an objective stance of for the people who really enjoy the game. But it's just not necessarily.
That's fine. It's honest.
It's hard to make these decisions because I'm also not that much of a critic.
For gameplay, it's based off of me, a first-person shooter, and realistic. And I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's everything that I really enjoy in the game.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Oh, I'm back.
You good?
There you are.
I was frozen. I don't want to keep talking. So, in the game, the PvP is amazing. The PvE, for me, is amazing. It's random. You can play the same map 12 hours in one day, and every fight that you get into is going to be completely different than the next. And the realistic of the bullet drop and the scopes and the sounds, it's everything that I really like in a game. And I give it a 10 out of 10 because for gameplay, if I didn't really enjoy the gameplay in it, I wouldn't have the 2,000 plus hours that I have in it.
Sure.
So our next category is story. Andrew.
So story for this game, I'm gonna just personally say that I don't think I can give any game a 0 for story because there's probably some attempt at a story in there in any game. So I'm gonna have to give it a 1. I mean, there's apparently lore videos out there of, you know, what the story is and what happened. But if I just jump in and try to play the game, and you would not know what's going on at all. So story, since I'm not going to give a game a 0, I'm going to give it a 1.
I'm not giving any like specific attribute of a game that we're reviewing. I would never get one a 0 either. I'm going to give these always a 1 out of 10. 1 would just be the lowest. I agree with that. 1. Story is 1. There's a little bit of lore text that you can sometimes read when you're loading in and stuff, and cool. Like, that's great. I don't really consider that story. I just think it's like adding a little bit of backstory. Okay, it's literally a story. Sorry. But it's like adding a little bit of backstory to your world. But I just don't think, like,
There's no story.
Mr. Joshua here wanted us to add story into this, but I didn't feel like it was, because there's no actual story put into the game. It's just like random little lore bits that don't mean anything. All of the story exists like online, like on YouTube and crap like that. Some people I'm sure care about that, who would want to do that. I have no interest in seeking out the story of this game online. I love Overwatch. We're going to jump into that real fast. Overwatch has pretty much almost all of its story online. I've never watched any of it because I don't care about that. Like, immerse it into your game or just, yeah. So story is a 1, sorry.
No, you're good. I want it brought up because I think it's something that people need to know. If people are going to watch this,
yeah.
If they think that there's any kind of story aspect to it, they need to know. We gave it a 1 or a 2 because there isn't. I gave it a 2 because I do watch some of the story stuff on YouTube. But when it comes to the game, there's nothing to do at all with the story. You do random missions for the traders. They're supposed to be tied to the story, but they're not. You're just doing missions. You have no idea why you're doing them. They just put an enemy into the game called the Bloodhound. It's supposed to be tied to the story, but the story is released on YouTube. So like I know because I've put the time in to watch some of the videos and all that there is somewhat of a lore for it, but it needs to be in the game.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to spend $45 to $160 on a game to go watch the story on YouTube.
People spend $160 on a game that's been in beta for over 7 years? Bruh, Josh, was that you?
Josh goes,
I have a bone to pick with you, man. That's so sad. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to give it 2. Andrew, your replayability.
Yeah, what do you think about the overall replayability of Escape from Tarkov?
The overall replayability, it is a game that is intended to play again and again and again. So without getting too technical, it is 100% set up to be a game with high replay ability or replay value, whatever you want to say. As for the aspect of do I find that fun? Personally, no. I just don't see enough of a reward system for there. I don't feel, and it may even be tied to the fact that there's lack of story in it, but I don't feel driven to want to just keep doing this over and over again. There's no higher goal other than hopefully kill something or someone that has better gear and then go back and do that again. In a lot of games with higher replay value that are in this same space, obviously it's unfair comparison, but the first thing that comes to mind is Call of Duty. Even if we're talking about DMZ, which is basically a clone of this, or Warzone or whatever, multiplayer, there's still the satisfaction of, I did the best at this, or I lasted the longest. In Tarkov, it's just you die or you leave, and that's it. And there's no more for that. But for replayability, I found myself giving it a little higher than expected. So I did give it a 7 because it is a game that you would want to, it is designed to be played more than a handful of times, and if you want to pour the hours into it, you definitely can. But yeah, I would say 7. It's slightly above average in replayability. It's just not, personally, it's not for me. So,
Nathan,
replayability for Escape from Tarkov. It was designed to be constantly replayed. Like the whole point is like the gameplay loop of getting in the map. You can loot, you can kill, fight, whatever. Just hide the whole time and then run in escape. And if you play as a scav, you get what you spawned with, that sort of thing. And then you get to sell it or keep it and then use it in the future. And pretty much you're doing it all just to keep doing it. And it's not necessarily a bad thing if you really enjoy the gameplay and want to put the time into it. Now, in the end, there is the thing that neither of us touched on, which is the hideout, which is kind of an overall long-term thing where you're bringing back certain materials, certain aspects, sometimes I think money, basically different parts of the game. I'm sure Josh can elaborate when he gets onto that, but there's like this hideout that you can go to between matches and you can build it up, and then you're actually able to do things there. Like supposedly you're able to make like bullets and stuff there and everything. So that gives you more of a reason to replay, because you want to go back and build up your hideout. So like I definitely gave some points for that, but overall I think the game is very much like you can constantly get into new scenarios with every map. Like Josh said, you play 12 hours in the same map and it's different every time. But at the same time, it feels very much the same every time, and you have to have a real reason to want to keep doing it. Which, personally, my replayability, I gave it a 6. I do think it has like high replayability, but not necessarily as much for me. And I think one thing that hurts that, I don't like wipes in games. I don't like doing everything that I've been doing all this time, and then they wipe the game after 6 months, and then everything you did before was just a memory, and your level is reset to 1, you have no items and anything else that you carried on from before, everything restarts, and I'm just like, you have to really love a game, really truly love the overall gameplay and experience and community of playing in a game to really want to play a game like that through wipes that completely wipe everything you've ever done and you start over from nothing. Personally, that is one big reason why I probably wouldn't really want to devote a lot of time into this long term.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I completely forgot about the fact that this game gets wiped a couple times a year. I don't know how much, but yeah, I would have changed my
1 to
score,
3.
but I'm in what I said.
So I'm not going to get into the hideout right now because for me, that has nothing to do with the scoring system.
That's fair.
If you want to know any questions about the hideout, just reach out in the comments of the YouTube video. I can explain some things. To me, when I think of replayability, it's when I sit down to play a game, what do I want to play? And to me, I find myself picking this game up more than anything else. So for my score, I originally gave it a 7, but when I thought about it like that, I bumped it up to an 8. I gave it not a 10. You know, people might like, well, why isn't it a 10? Because you have 2,000 hours in it. Wipes, for people who invest the time in the game, they enjoy the wipes.
Okay.
For you guys not knowing the game, you feel like everything that you're learning now in a couple months is just going to go away. For the people who have all this time in the game, they're bored, they have end game loot, and everything is easy. So when the game wipes, everybody is on the same exact playing field. Okay. The beginning of a wipe, the gunfights are so much more fun than they are right now.
That's fair.
So for me, replayability is like Call of Duty. Like Call of Duty is the same thing over and over. You learn in a match, kill a bunch of people, do a couple objectives, boom, you're back out. You don't sell anything or build a hideout or whatever. You just wait for the queue to go and you go back in. So for me, I picked it an 8 out of 10 for the amount of times I found myself picking the game up and want to just keep playing it and playing it. There's times where the game wipes and I'm like, I don't really feel like playing it. So that's why I didn't give it a 10 out of 10, because there's times where it wipes and I'm like, I'm going to find something else for a little while. But then I always find myself coming back to the game.
That makes sense. That's fair.
So
it's like a mindset. It's a different mindset totally, because my mindset is like, I guess if I had played that much, I could get bored. And then I'm like, okay, well, this is a totally new experience. Even my thought, like, I own the game now. I can play it anytime I want. So, like, I was straight up telling Josh the other day when we were playing together, and then we'll move on to Andrew's final score here. I was telling him that I might hop in and play some Tarkov with him when the next wipe happens, because I think it might be fun to start off where everybody is on, like, the same playing field. Nobody's a super high level with super ridiculous gear. And it might be a totally different experience. So
When the game is officially released, yes, I know it's been in beta for a while, but when it's officially released, they don't plan on wiping.
Good.
They only wipe because it's part of beta. Now, there are people who really do like the wipes, so when the game releases, they'll set up to have a continuous server and then a server that wipes periodically.
Okay.
So, but I mean, the game wipes for now. The game's going to wipe whenever they release a large amount of content, and it resets everybody. Yeah. They don't just go, well, you know what, this week we're going to wipe. The game wipes with a large update to the game.
I'm really surprised they wouldn't, I'll use the Call of Duty term because that's what I know, but I'm really surprised they didn't decide to do some sort of like prestige system if you enjoy the wipes, where you can get to, I don't know, we'll hypothetically say max level is 20. You could choose to just stay at level cap, keep all your stuff, or they could offer some sort of incentive for you to decide, yeah, I want to wipe, take care of everything I have, set me back at level 1, give me a little star by my name or something, and then I have the ability to unlock maybe other things or give you some sort of incentive to do that. Because that'd be really good too. But
Yeah,
I'm glad
that.
I'm really glad they are going to be doing, both. They're still giving you the best of both worlds, which I think is ideal for anybody who wants to make money in the gaming industry.
All right, Andrew, our last thing is cost versus value. What would you score that?
So for cost versus value, this, in my opinion, is going to be about 50%, both my opinion and the cold hard facts. So the cold hard facts of cost versus value, I know I've said it a lot, and Josh hates hearing me say it, but this game has been in active production for at least 7 to 8 years. It's still, maybe I don't know enough about game design, but for a game to be released to the public in that capacity and still be in development and still have the issues that it does, that doesn't sit right with me. So that's going to affect my value. Now, my value, personally, it's not horrible. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, because I didn't spend $160 on the game, Josh. I spent as little as I possibly could, and I think it was almost $50 after tax. So for a $50 game, unless I hardcore looked at the reviews of it, which usually I do, but we're doing this. Josh is one of my best friends. I love him, so I'm going to take his word for something, and I really do want to just jump in and have fun with it regardless. So my value, I would have to give it a 3 out of 10, versus what it cost. It's hard to say just because it's just not something that I want to replay. I kind of knew that going in, but again, there's just not enough to keep me coming back for the value that I paid for it. If you would have told me this was a free game, I'd have been all for it. Cost for value, it would have been more of like an 8. Even though I don't like the game, I would have spent any of my hard-earned money on it. If I pay $50 for a game, I want at least a solid 40 hours of learning, having fun, trying to learn new things, do new things, and I don't think I get that. Either I don't get it, or there's just too much of it for me to understand. I think might be more accurate with Tarkov, at least. So, yeah, that's where I give it. That's my score.
All right.
Nathan?
So, cost versus value. I agree that you want to get like a decent chunk of hours put into a game and want to feel that drive and that draw to a game that you've just spent $50 on, to want to put that time in, put those 40, 50 hours in. And no matter how much I think like the good aspects of this game that there are, like I said, the graphics and gameplay are really solid. I think the overall replayability is good. It's not the game for me. Like I would want, like if there was a game that was really, I believe, for me, even if just for a time, like I played it hardcore for a few months, like I feel a draw. I feel like I can't wait to play it whenever I have some free time. Like, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that. But to be honest, after the first couple of tries, it kind of felt more a little bit like a chore to me. Like I have to play this for the podcast. And I don't mean to be harsh by saying that. It's just how I feel. Not that I didn't enjoy it.
This whole thing's about being honest.
Yeah, it is. I know. But I just
hate
it
you guys
I know
from day one.
Listen, I know how much you love this game, Josh, and I know that not everyone else is going to feel the same way. I can't help but feel a little bad because no matter how overall breaking down the different facets of this game, I don't think it's fully for me. I think a big part of that is the wipe system, because like I feel like if I don't play it often, there are games that I can play here and there and then maybe take a break and come back and like I can continue doing what I was doing. But in this game, if I do that too long, then it just got wiped. And I just like, oh yeah, I guess I'll start over again. I didn't really get my full experience in the first time because I didn't spend enough time doing it. So it's kind of like I have a hard time feeling like I would want to get into it more. Maybe I would. Maybe after it's fully released one day. Who knows? And I'm still down to play with you one day. But my cost versus value is 3. It's 3 as well. I agree. It's not something like I did enjoy playing it, especially with you. Like I specifically enjoyed playing with the other people more so than playing by myself. I think it's a different experience, and Josh can help me along because it's difficult. It's complex, but overall, with the amount of money put into it compared to how much time I think I'll actually play it, it's just not. It's pretty low there.
So here's the thing: cost versus value. I give mine an 8 because the amount of time I played.
That's fair.
I started off with the original game package like you did. And if you go to their website, there's different branches of game package. When the game wipes, the more expensive package, you get a bigger stash space, better reputation with the traders, you get more starting gear, stuff like that. And as I played and I knew that I was going to invest time into the game, I spent the additional money to get that bigger stash for my character because I knew the amount of time that I was going to be putting in that I was going to need that extra room. So for me, my cost versus value is 8 because I play it all the time, but it's not a 10 because I'm not playing it all the time. Like, I just said earlier, when the game wipes, sometimes if there's a little lull periods where it's like, you know what, I really don't feel like picking up the game. So the average score, which is funny, I thought Nathan's would be higher than what it is. The scores are so low because of the story.
The story hurts it a lot. Yeah, so
does.
what we're doing is essentially doing an overall average score because we have our personal feelings about the game. I basically just laid mine bare by saying, like, I think it's really cool, but it's not for me. But I still think enough of the aspects of the game are really cool and really good that it's going to be a higher score than my overall cost versus value because I think it's a better game than, like, what I would actually be interested in playing.
Andrew's overall score was a 4.8 out of 10.
Below average for me.
Nathan,
5 out of 10 I will consider average.
Nathan's score was a 5 out of 10.
Oh, exactly? Nice.
Yep.
Ooh.
And my score was a 7.2 out of 10.
Ooh.
So what we did is we all rated. So these five things we use to rate the game, we're going to use to rate all games from here on out.
Yeah, graphics, gameplay, story, replayability, and cost versus value.
So we wanted to take the average of those scores just to see what the average would come out to be. And then now we're going to give our overall feeling for the entirety of the game within itself.
I'm going to be honest, I just did that. I don't know if I can add more. I don't know if Andrew has more to add. Josh just froze like a buffoon, but we can...
That means between the three of us, the game got an average 5.87 out of 10. We're going to start there. So between the three of us, we all can agree that it is very slightly above average. The story really, for this one, the fact that there's a lack of story really was going to drive it home for me that I wasn't going to like it. I already knew that I'm not a huge fan of games that are very big on resource management like this. And by resource management, I just mean like the really petty stuff. If I want to reload a gun, let me reload my gun. If I don't have any more rounds, that's fine. I don't want to have to like put a round in the chamber, make sure it's chambered, and just let me put the mag in, click, let's go. Like there's such thing as too much in my opinion, and that's the epitome of Tarkov. It's, hey, do you want too much control of everything you do? This is the game for you, you control freak. So that's just how I felt about it. So those are my closing thoughts.
Would you give it a different overall rating from what your average is?
No, actually, I'm surprised. 4.8 is spot on. It is still a game that I'd still play if you guys decided, hey, like, let's just run some Tarkov for a few hours. I wouldn't just like absolutely loathe it like I initially thought I was going to. It's still pretty low on the ladder for me, but it's not the lowest thing that I've probably ever played. But yeah, that's about spot on.
Nathan, I want to make a comment before I ask you your overall. Would you change it or keep it? But the question that I just came to mind is, we all work different schedules.
Mhm.
I work 70 hours and during the week. I don't have time to do it during the week. So I game on Saturdays and Sundays. But you're busy, so like you really only have Sundays to dedicate some time. And that's for the podcast. But we've gotten lucky in the last 2 weeks to be able to get on and game together.
I can always do it. When I'm home on Saturday, I can always do it. I just also don't see my wife a ton during the week, so I generally try to spend some time with her on the weekend. When I have time where she's doing something else or whatever, and I have some free time and I'm not editing or something, we could always do some gaming together.
I get that. So what I'm trying to say is, how different would your score be if all 4 weeks was you playing the game by yourself compared to how you played it?
I don't think it would be much different, because if I wasn't learning the game from you, I'd be learning it from stuff online, YouTube, tutorials, stuff like that. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind having to do that. I know that's less of a thing. Like, Andrew is not a fan of using like third-party stuff too much. Like, he wants to be able to learn the game by playing the game, and that's hard for Tarkov. It does teach you like, oh, these are the hotkeys, but then it's like, I don't even know what that means. So you try to do it in the game, and it's like, I don't know what this does. I don't know how this affects my gameplay, but either Josh tells me or I would have looked it online. I don't think it would have affected my score too much. And I will say that I think overall, I think a 5 out of 10 is pretty fair for like how I feel about the game overall. I feel like, honestly, it should be a little bit higher, only because I don't think story should be lumped in there, because I don't even believe there is a story. So I think the story brings down the score a bunch. I would say 5 or 6 out of 10 is fine.
Okay. I'd say I'd give it an overall 9 out of 10.
I believe it.
It's not a perfect game, but it's something, I've got a ton of time in it. So,
because there's also something like, there's something to do with like, sure, your overall score is 7.2 or something you said, but there's also just the intrinsic, how much do I enjoy playing this game? No matter how good of a game it is, if I just enjoy it, if I just love a game and really want to like spend a lot of time into it, you're going to have an overall like higher view of the game, because of you just have a certain attachment to it that you can't display in numbers. So that makes a lot of sense. I
agree. Yeah, I think we're all going to run into, it just so happens that Josh is the first one to run into this, but I can really see we're all going to get super pumped for a game that we're going to play, and we're just going to have to sit here and grin and bear it when we have one or two other people who were like, this is hot trash, this belongs in the dumpster fire, and I feel like whenever we get to my game that I want to play, that it's probably, I have to face the facts that it might be that way for at least one of you. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes with each of us experiencing that the first time around.
I'm excited to get to the point where we sit down, we pick a game that we haven't played, and we play that.
Agreed.
I think that will be the most fun deciphering games on this podcast that we'll have. So, but
quick.
Andrew.
Nope. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was going to completely move us along, so you go.
I was going to.
Perfect. So I was going to say one thing before we move along.
Go for it.
I'm glad we're on the same page. I find the observation quite hilarious that between the three of us, the average of the amount of time we have to actually play versus how much we can play and how much we want to play. I love how Josh, being the one who probably has the longest schedule in a day and has the least amount of physical time to play it, rates the game the highest, knowing that it's a game you have to donate a lot of time to. We have the middle of the road Nathan, who's pretty busy. We have, and he gave it a middle of the road score. I have, between the three of us, while I'm not always just lumping around, I have probably the most time out of the three of us. Shh. Don't call me out. But I'm probably the one who has the most spare time to devote to this, and I hated it. And it's just like,
hated it. Come on.
Well, yeah,
No,
I have
fair.
strong opinions,
That's
but
hilarious.
it's just funny to me that that's kind of how it worked out. Where we all know we have to donate a lot of time to the game, and it's the opposites of it is just ironic. It doesn't lost on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so. Perfect segue, even though it isn't. I'm going to say that it is for us to move along. Did you say no?
Have decided.
So
We have decided on our next game
next
that we're
week
on Dragon Ball Z. So we are going to essentially we are going to play a game. We're going to begin our playthrough of a certain game that I've chosen. We did Josh's. I don't know why we're going in reverse order on this screen. Andrew should have been next, but we are going to play the Talos Principle. If you haven't heard of it, great. Well, play it. Don't look it up. But we're going to be talking all about it on here, so if you don't want to get spoiled, don't listen to our podcast anymore. This is a really good way to hemorrhage viewers. So essentially, we're going to... I'm going to actually take a little bit of time. I'm going to play a couple hours, like an hour and a half to 2 hours of the game. I've played it before. These two guys haven't. They don't know much about it. Josh has been looking up some stuff because he just wanted to get an idea of what it looked at.
Oh, I just saw some videos on Steam. On Steam. Naughty Steve, naughty.
You enunciated that so perfectly and had such a pause that it sounded like you did that on purpose. That was an intentional. See, we're all doing it. We're all flubbing our little words here. So we're playing the Talos Principle, and this is what we're going to be talking about on the podcast from now on. I'm going to get like a good solid, like we're pretty much like doing a minimum with story-based games. In a way, Talos Principle is that I would suggest we play together the same amount. We're basically setting it to, we're going to play 2 hours a week. So we're probably going to be playing this for a good little while here. If we feel like we need to ramp it up because we don't make enough progress in those 2 hours, that is fine. It's also like, it's less of the amount of time and more like if you get stuck on a puzzle, you just need to kind of get to a certain point. We're going to set like checkpoints where we need to finish and catch up to for each week to talk about then what we've done so far in the game on the podcast, and we can all talk about our experiences with it together. I will say, if somebody is like spent 4 hours and they just can't get past a puzzle or something, I don't give a crap if one of you needs to look up like the solution to a puzzle so you can actually move on and continue enjoying the game, because if anything, that solution is just going to teach you like a different way of thinking. Like, if you weren't able to come up with it yourself and you don't want to keep wasting time on a certain puzzle, like I said, it's a 3D puzzle game, but it's so much more and so much different than what that sounds to you, because it's almost like you're walking around in a 3D environment, and there's like an overall story, overall lore to it, and there are these terminals where you can like learn more about the story. It's not a super heavily story-based game, but there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think there's actually like multiple ways to end. Sure. Josh can read the description of the game.
As if awakening from a deep sleep, you find yourself in a strange, contradictory world of ancient ruins and advanced technology. Tasked by your creator with solving a series of increasingly complex puzzles, you must decide whether to have faith or to ask the difficult questions. Who are you? What is your purpose? And what are you going to do about it?
That's very vague.
The game it's a narrative-based puzzle game played from a first or third person's perspective. The player takes the role of a robot with seemingly human consciousness as they explore a number of environments that include over 120 puzzles. It is supposed to take around 29 hours to 100% complete the game.
Oh, that's not a bad idea to look into, because we could figure out how many podcasts we'd go through and see if we need to like set aside an extra amount of time. Because 29 hours, we could pretty much set like, okay, 3 hours a week. We have 10 episodes on it. So we might have to decide.
The Talos Principle 2 is supposed to be releasing in 2023 sometime.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. You have no idea. We'll talk about that on the side that doesn't matter for the podcast. Whatever we end up deciding on will be the episodes of the podcast. So if we need to add a little bit more time weekly just to go through and make sure it doesn't take 20 episodes to get through one game, which I feel like some long story-based games are going to be like that, and there's nothing you can do about it. Andrew has some of those. Yeah. Well, Andrew is the story-based game guy. I'm in the middle. Josh is more of like I'm going to go on and play multiplayer Tarkov. And then Andrew's like, I love all the story-based games. So I actually really like how different, like how complementary and opposite we are in these sort of how we play our games. Because I think it's really unique and helpful overall to put ourselves in different person's shoes and like see the different kinds of games they play and they're super interested in. And it's going to help us really have a better idea of what we really enjoy in video games and potentially bring us to some really new awakenings, if you might want to say, because I might end up finding out that whatever the game the story-based game he's playing or he wants us to play, I'm going to be like, holy crap, how have I never played this? This is incredible. And then I play all of them or something. Like, so I'm looking forward to learning those sort of things. But
awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Me too. It'll be good. So, Andrew.
Yep. Yes, sir.
You have a little bit of a secret surprise that you're holding from us.
Yeah, so I decided to come up with the topic without telling these guys of what our fantasy draft is going to be this week. So you're going to have to suspend your disbelief for a moment. Just follow me into this world that we're just diving right into. So you've been granted, we're going to say, one very particular wish. Okay. You are going to be the owner of not one, but two. We'll say, I'm trying to think of how to explain it. We'll say you can own 2 stores. Okay. So not necessarily you're making the money from them, but whatever objects you find in that store, they are yours for free for the rest of your life because those are your stores. So, for example, we're going to lay down some ground rules. So I am going to just say we can't say something like a Walmart that has everything. You know, where that's going to be too easy.
Specialized.
Too easy. We got to go with some sort of specialized store, whether it's anything, from like a thrift store. That could be considered one thing. Maybe you wanted to pick just a grocery store, and that's one thing. You could pick a certain grocery store because Walmart does have just grocery stores. I know where we live, it's all kind of one big hodgepodge. But that's the idea. So you get to pick 2 locations, we'll just say, where you, for the rest of your life, you can just go there and get whatever's there free of charge for you. So I don't know who we started with.
A store or a restaurant? Like, could it be restaurant too, or
if that's what you decide? Yeah, as long as they have some sort of, I guess we'll say, niche for it. It's not just like a general store that sells everything and anything.
Okay.
As long as it's something that has some sort of specification, then yeah, you can go for it. So who started
last
time? I don't remember.
Well, I did. So it was Andrew. So now it's going to be Nathan, me, Andrew, me, Nathan.
Cool. You sure? All right. I don't care. Yes. I trust you. And who
That's
really
fine.
cares in the end? So
I'm first. Nathan.
First round pick, snake style. Let's go.
Can this be a theoretical store or one that I actually know specifically
has to
exist?
Has to exist.
Oh man. Do I have to have direct, constant access to it? Because, what if it's in Pennsylvania?
Nope.
No,
doesn't
it's
matter.
just as long as you know it exists and it's real.
They can send you that stuff for free. Who cares?
Or if it's your own store, you could open one up where you live.
There you go.
I'm going to choose Smoky Mountain Knife Works in Gatlinburg.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Pigeon Forge.
Yeah.
And I'm going to walk in, and everybody in that store is going to cower and run away because they know I'm there to steal everything they have. Because that's in the agreement. I'm going to take every single knife, every single gun, everything in that store, and I'm going to build a very large throne out of them.
Going Game of Thrones out here with his own Iron Throne. I love it.
That's what I'm going to do.
Which is perfectly fine. They're not going to be scared of you, though, because this is they just see you as Mr. Head Honcho. Oh, this is his store. He can just walk in and take whatever he wants whenever.
No, the employees are going to be mad because they don't have a shipment in until Friday. Dude, I'm walking in on Tuesday. They don't have a job for 3 days.
So gotcha. You're just trying to put people out of a job with that. That's interesting.
That's my life goal. I mean, ideally, I don't really want to say that's because I like other things too.
Understood. So your main product then seems to be, metals,
metal thrones,
knives, fireworks. Okay.
Sharp, dangerous metal thrones.
Nice. Pointies and stabbies. I like it. Josh.
Mine isn't as sadistic. If I could own one place that's mine, and I can take whatever I want from it at any given time. I choose Sheets.
That is not a bad idea. It's primarily food and gas. But
Which one?
listen, I got to be honest with you. The absolute greatest cheese sticks you'll ever have in your life, you'll get from Sheets, dog.
Yeah,
They
have the best cheese
are
sticks.
phenomenal.
They have such
They
good fried
now
apps in general.
have these bacon cheddar potato sticks too.
Delicious.
Hey, Andrew, let's get away from the food. Let's not do food every
Josh
time.
brought it right back around.
No,
He
to be
said,
honest,
"I'm
Andrew brought
here."
up the cheese sticks.
That's fair. That is fair. You did do
I
that.
can get unlimited gas. It's mine. Gas
That's
for
fair.
a year, gas for life.
Okay, but
That is good.
how does this work? Because do you get every single Sheets that exists in the world you can stop at and take what you want anytime? Or is it a specific, like,
Yep, every single one.
local brand? Wow. So
Yep.
picking chains are really big. I picked one that's a one-off. That's great. Okay, continue.
However,
Andrew?
you still have access to that stuff there, so
Yeah.
it's not necessarily bad. For me,
Bones.
if I were to take one store, I can leave that for my second one. No one's going to pick that. That's kind of stupid, but it's my kind of stupid. So I would have to say, go. This is going to bring out the weeb in me, but going alongside the Nathan's kind of idea, the first thing that I thought of, and I'm not sure what the store names are because they are far and vastly vary, but I'm going to go with the typical Chinese bazaars that you see, like in those kind of touristy areas. If there's a name for one of them, I'll just pick that one. We'll call it the
China
Chinese Bazaar, China Bazaar. And that's what I was thinking too, was in
Yup.
Gatlinburg when Nathan and I went, and Josh as well. You know, we stopped. I don't know if Josh was in that vehicle with us. No, he was the other driver.
Oh, no.
So Nathan and I, we had the time to kind of hit the town of Gatlinburg, and we did find one of those China bazaars that has all sorts of like anime prop swords, blood grade swords. You know, if that's your thing, you really do want to slice people up, go for it. All sorts of knives, play guns, very non-specifically razor-tipped playing cards that someone may have purchased.
I also purchased a
Grappling
hook, from
hook,
there.
dude. That was
I have
the
a
sickest thing.
Grappling hook in my car always now. No,
That's
I
awesome.
don't. I never bought a grappling hook.
What do you mean?
You lost it in the boating accident.
Yeah.
No.
Boating accident.
Yeah, I guess. I do remember that. But yeah, for legal reasons, Nathan never bought a grappling hook. I remember that.
And I
Except
don't
I don't
keep
remember
it in
that
my
'cause it didn't
car
happen.
at all times.
Andrew, what's your second option?
So my second option, I know you're going to tell me is stupid, but I don't care. I would love to just be able to walk into this store with the vast amount of either high quality or absolute nonsense that is contained in there. But if I could just go into anywhere in the United States, find a Gabriel Brothers, and walk in and pick something out of it, that would be my life dream. Listen, you can find like super high quality, multi-thousand thread count bed sheets in a Gabe's, and you can also find a misprinted Brett Favre jersey that just says number 14 and it has an FA on it. You have no idea what you're going to get in that store. And I love how randomly chaotic it is. So I would love to just walk into any Gabe's and be like, this is unique, it's mine. This is unique, it's mine. I actually need this, it's mine. It's the chaos just like makes me so happy.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
I can't argue. Free clothing.
Yeah. Might have holes in the underwear, but you know.
We like started off this like we're gonna argue with each other for each other's choices, but I like you guys' choices, so it's very
Yeah, if you got a
difficult to
crappy choice, I'll let you
argue
know.
against. Yeah, that's fair. Joshua?
My second one is going to be Cabela's.
But I knew it was going to be some sort of firearm store, without a doubt.
Not even firearms. I have limited boats, ATVs, all that. Cabela's has a restaurant in
Taxidermied
it.
animals.
They have the little fish pond, so I can go fishing in my own store.
And I would still argue that it's niche enough. You know, not every store has that kind of thing. It's not it doesn't have everything. It definitely just has, items geared toward a
Outdoor
certain
stuff.
person.
Yeah.
I feel very much like
President?
a real plebeian with my second choice here.
Let's argue.
It feels just boring and uninspired, but it would be such a boon to my life. Dude, I just can walk into any Best Buy and just get any electronics I need, any game I need, anything like that.
That's not weeb. That's not. You can't even argue with that. I mean, you'd save so much money. Just be like.
Andrew said weeb. I said plebe.
Plebe. Oh, whatever. Weeb, plebe, neeb.
Steve.
So you knew there was a thing to this.
But man, Best Buy is, I feel like it's just a boring choice, but
it's not. They have phones, laptops, computers, home sound systems, 40, 60 graphics cards.
And I would have the best of everything, and it would be great, and it would be free.
And I would argue that Josh had the most boring picking Sheets, because, I mean, he obviously just mainly wanted it for the free fuel for the rest of his life. And that's cool. It saves money, but yeah, it's kind of boring. I'd say it's more boring than Best Buy.
I don't know, man. The food at Sheets.
Sheets is better than Gabriel's.
You shut your dirty mouth.
I like the chaos of Gabriel's choice.
With holes in it, but I'm getting free gas for life.
Potentially.
Okay,
and I'm
8
not
out of 10 times.
Any of it.
8 out of 10
I'm not buying any of it.
You know what underwear does not have holes in it? MeUndies, which is not the sponsor of this podcast.
It could be.
I'd also like to point out every underwear has holes in them, or else you wouldn't be able to fit in it. So
that's
suck on that.
True. A hole. There's only one hole in a pair of underwear.
It's a weird thing. Tell me to suck on it. When
I guess technically, yeah.
Underwear.
Listen, you brought it there, not me.
No. You brought it the holy underwear.
You can dress it up with whatever words you want.
I know you agreed with me, but if you shrink a pair of underwear down topologically to the flat, like make it as flat as possible, and there's just the 2 and then the 1, that's one hole. In the end, that's one hole. A hole is something that goes through, like a straw has one hole.
One hole.
Nathan.
Yes?
What if you epoxied a pair of underwear and then sharpened the edges to be like a flying underwear disc of death?
Bet I'm being for Cotton Eye Joe. This is the part where we're all really tired and need to go to bed. We need to talk about this after, because I feel like that came from a really dark place, Josh.
It did.
I was just going through playing cards.
I feel like Josh wants his ashes to be put into a frisbee so he can fly or something weird like that.
That'd be cool.
I want my remains to be spread at Disney World, but I don't want to be cremated.
And there's the dark joke of the night.
Thank you all for watching. We always appreciate any and every one of you who watches, even if you just skip to the end because you got really tired of hearing us talk about some game you've never played, nor will play, nor have ever looked up, and you just hear us talking about it on the podcast. And maybe I'll put like little timestamps so you know where to skip. If you just like hearing the weird dudes talk to each other, that's fine too. I get that. We really appreciate you having. We appreciate having you here, and it's been a fun ride so far. We're just having a good time. It feels like pretty easy to just sit down each week and talk about this stuff. And I look forward to episode 50 and then 500. That's going to certainly be 10 years in the future and very different. Andrew's going to be bald, and Josh is going to have a beard.
Don't you put that on me. I'm not going to be bald.
I'm going to be bald before anyone here.
Any questions, ask in the comments, and in the comments, put down what you would own.
It's not great.
Be a fun one.
You got a big forehead.
Look at your whole forehead. It goes all the way to the back.
Your forehead looks like a slice of bread.
Josh is one of the few people I want to take that slice of that American Singles and just throw it right at his big old forehead. Just see the viscosity.
I wish.
That'd be great. But anyways, that has been the My Mom Has Tourette's podcast. This has been Andrew.
And Nathan.
And Josh.
And I am Andrew, and we are signing off. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
I still don't know what that
Bye.
means. What are we signing off of? I didn't log out. I didn't log into anything. I didn't log off. I don't really.
Wait, you guys signed up for something?
Bye.